Let's speak to Oliver Patel, who's with me in the studio from the UCL European Institute. So she certainly had some MPs switching to her side, but obviously not enough. The loss there, 149 votes.
Well, I said beforehand that if the loss was kind of under 100, that might be sort of victory. It's much more than that, 149. It's very difficult to see how this deal can be salvaged from the wreckage at this stage. Fun fact, this is the fourth biggest defeat in parliamentary history. The first biggest was a few weeks ago on the same deal. So she's setting records every new vote. What happens now is anyone's guess. People thought that she might actually pull the votes tomorrow, but she hasn't done so. She's sticking to the schedule. So I think we'll definitely see a vote against no deal tomorrow.
So this is the vote that we decline to leave the EU without a withdrawal agreement. So there's always an archaic form of words, but basically she's asking MPs whether they reject leaving the EU without a deal in place.
What she's doing is she's passing the responsibility of having to make this big decision to MPs. So instead of Theresa May herself having to decide, what do I want more, no deal or an extension of Article 50, she's letting the MPs make that decision for her. So that's what's going to happen on Wednesday and Thursday.
For me, one of the most worrying things, which will, I'm sure, be felt throughout the country, is that now preparations begin in earnest for a no-deal Brexit.
That is, in theory, what happens, but I still think a no-deal Brexit is relatively unlikely, this is because no deal can be avoided, at least in the short term, by extending Article 50. And I'm pretty convinced that after the events of today, Parliament will vote to extend Article 50, and then presumably, if the EU grants it, which I think it would, presumably in that time, a new sort of plan will have to be cobbled together by MPs. What that is anyone's guess, but I don't think no deal is going to happen, definitely not on the 29th of March, anyway.
And it's interesting, tomorrow is going to be a free vote, so MPs can vote according to their own consciences, not what the party whip is telling them to do. Get more from Oliver Patel. Now joins me in the studio, Research Associate and Manager of the UCL European Institute. I guess the problem for Theresa May, and all the predictions were pointing to a loss for her today, is that the EU is saying that it doesn't want to budge on the concessions it's already given her.
Because Theresa May lost this vote by so much, by 149, there's no way in which she can go back to the EU and say, if you just give me this one little thing, I'll win the vote. She would need to win over something like 75 MPs. It's not going to happen with any kind of concession at this stage, any kind of concession that the EU is willing to offer. So this deal is probably dead in the water. I say probably because Theresa May is remarkably good at clinging on to things and keeping things going even when it looks like it's all lost. But for now, I don't think this specific deal is going to be salvaged. So I think the most likely outcome for now is an extension of Article 50.
Yeah, she's said all along that the best way to guarantee not having a no-deal Brexit is to vote for this deal. Tomorrow, it's a free vote by MPs, and that means they're going to vote with their conscience. And the question is whether the UK can go for a no-deal Brexit. It doesn't look like they're going to say yes to that.
I mean, the fact that it's a free vote is basically an admission that Theresa May is losing control, losing power. So she's in office but not in power, because her whole Brexit strategy was predicated on the notion that no deal had to be on the table. By giving MP vote, she's letting them basically do what they want. It's no longer matters what her strategy is. So because it's a free vote, it's almost 100% likely that the deal, the MPs will vote against the idea of no deal, and then there will be a vote on whether Article 50 should be extended. It would be rather paradoxical if MPs voted against no deal, but also voted against extending Article 50, because unless Article 50 is extended, there would be no deal. So I'm pretty convinced that on Thursday, MPs will also vote to extend Article 50.
But even if Article 50 is extended, don't we still face this problem of what we're going to do about the Irish backstop, this border issue between Northern Ireland and Ireland?
I think it would be a stretch to say that extending Article 50 solves the problem. It just buys more time. That's literally it. Nothing substantive or meaningful changes just by extending Article 50. At the moment, the only thing that MPs can agree upon is A, they don't like this deal, and B, they don't like no deal. So in order to avert no deal, they will extend Article 50. But you're right to say that we still don't have any idea what there is a majority for, and until we know that, we don't have any clue what's going to happen with the UK and the EU's relationship for the long term.
So still uncertain times ahead. Oliver, thank you very much indeed for that.